Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Bill Schmidt.
Sports Map All Night is the program. You're listening to us on the free Sports Map radio app, streamsportsmap.com, or one of our fine local affiliates across the country. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're here each and every weeknight, Monday through Friday, starting up at 10 on the East Coast. My guy Andrew Carlson is in here riding shotgun. I'm Bill Schmidt. You can find him on Twitter at Carlson Radio, the show, and connect with us at Sports Map Radio. I'm at Bill Schmidt Radio. Common German spelling on that, SCHMID. I'm a low T kind of guy, so don't put the T at the end of that. 1-800-224-2004. As we get ready for week number 7 in the NFL, we're going to all agree to forget what we watched last night. And Andrew, why don't we just wipe that away from the memory bank, and week 7 starts up on Sunday at noon. How does that sound?
You know, I thought yesterday, for all the crap football we saw, was relatively entertaining. I know you feel the same, so I'm not ready to wipe it from my mind. I enjoyed myself watching Thursday Night Football.
Well, I'm more of just saying that for like Daniel Jones's family, because I think they've seen and heard the highlight a few too many times of Daniel Jones catching the turf monster at the 25. It's one of the reasons why we love the internet. It was an absolute troll job, one after another, for Daniel Jones last night. However, watching the shows earlier on today across all the different platforms, listening here on Sports Map Radio, Andrew, seemed like everybody was on with us. That this Giants team, one, is much better than we would have anticipated or thought maybe 3 weeks ago. And two, I heard multiple people think that they're not completely out of that division. Granted, they're only a game and a half, whatever it ends up being out. They're going to keep playing harder and better as the season goes on. That's my hot take on the New York Giants for tonight. We'll just leave that there. I think that's about as much Giants talk as we need to get into. Otherwise, I mean, you're the executive producer, so you can tell us if we want to go 3 hours of Giants football, and we'll do that for you. Pass. Okay, good. Let's talk about must-see TV for this weekend. One of the must-see games for me on the docket, not because of the firepower that's going to be in the game, not even because it's going to find itself on the 3 plays that pay. No, I am thoroughly enjoying watching Matt Rule's Carolina Panthers throughout the season. Are they the most talented team in pro football? Absolutely not. What they do have, though, is a set core of structure and principles that they believe in. They're going to run the football and they're going to play defense. Now, 3-3, 2-1 on the road. I think they're going to go in this weekend and beat the New Orleans Saints outright on the road at Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Before you turn your radio off, let me tell you why. There is no Michael Thomas. He's already been ruled out once again. This time, it's the ankle injury that will keep him out again for Michael Thomas. Last week, it appeared like he was going to be cleared to go, and then an altercation, a fight, where reportedly Michael Thomas was the aggressor, was the antagonist. He sits again last week for disciplinary reasons. Now the ankle flares up once again, and Michael Thomas will not be playing in this game tomorrow night. Also on the receiving corps, there will be no Emmanuel Sanders as he is out, placed on the COVID-19 restricted list earlier on today. So the Saints are coming off a bye, yes, and at 3-2. However, they are in no better situation than they were going in, if not worse than going into the bye week. Are they the New Orleans Saints? They're also going to be without center Nick Easton. They're a mash unit, and it's also a hamstring that flares up for Michael Thomas as he just continues to be decimated by injuries. His 2020 season derailed after a record breaker last year. But Teddy Bridgewater has managed the football game about as well as you could throughout this early onset of the season for the Carolina Panthers. They come in as a 7.5-point dog. I'm feeling like they're going to win this game here on Sunday for a couple of reasons. They play strong defense. They're a consistent group that's going to be in close games throughout the weekend. They average 23 points a game offensively. They average giving up just over 23 a game at like 23.2. It's going to be a tight ball game, no doubt about it. The difference in the New Orleans Mercedes-Benz Superdome without noise and without fans has been so evident and clear that a team like the Panthers, who are well coached, like going on the road, and just play fundamental football, they can take advantage. And I think they're going to be able to, with Shaq Thompson roaming around the middle of that defense. They don't have a Luke Kuechly in the middle to take advantage of the underneath routes. I know they get in trouble when you try to beat Carolina deep. With Drew Brees, the way he's playing right now and the way that arm looks, I don't see them being able to go deep to a Traquan Smith. I don't even see them being able to test that arm and reach out, get into the pass game more. And against the run, Carolina can do some stuff. First-round pick Derek Brown out of Auburn, having a really nice year as a rookie. They're pretty stout up front. So I'm excited to see where Carolina goes, and I think they end up winning this game outright, and I'm going to be taking the 7.5 points. And it's a little preview of what we see later on tonight in the 3 plays that pay, which comes up in the third hour of the program. A battle of the 2 lone unbeatens in the AFC, a game that was supposed to happen back in September. Tennessee Titans finally are hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers, each at 5-0. For Pittsburgh, I want to see what the hype is about. Have I enjoyed watching Chase Claypool early on? Absolutely. I think their defensive front is strong. I haven't necessarily seen or felt the dominance that apparently all of our cohorts across the country, Andrew, are feeling about the Steelers. I know you had them in your top 5. I just didn't feel confident enough throwing them in there, especially with the Devin Bush injury. That's going to be a big miss. Jerry Dulac talked about it on this program this week, host on the Pittsburgh Steelers radio network, that it's going to be evident and clear the loss in the middle of that defense. Without Bush against Derrick Henry, we're going to hear more on this matchup later on today, but that is one where the Tennessee Titans could impose a little bit more of their will. I think you walk out of this game being more impressed what Tennessee can do on the ground, and Pittsburgh starts getting a reality check a little bit back down to earth. What about the move in the NFL today? We'll talk more Antonio Brown into the next segment. But Tampa and Las Vegas moved from Sunday Night Football. Now it's in the late afternoon window. I know what I saw in Tampa last week was dominance on defense. Can their offense run the ball with Ronald Jones the way they did against Green Bay last week for 2 touchdowns and over 100 yards, and he's now racked up a couple of 100-yard games in a row? Maybe. I'm not completely sold on the run game in Tampa. Their pass game now adding Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin healthy. He gets another week on the practice field and onto the game field with Tom Brady. Mike Evans, we already know the camaraderie they have, and they add to that offense. The reason this is must-see TV this weekend, just yesterday, the Las Vegas Raiders had to place 4 of their starting 5 offensive linemen on the COVID-19 restricted list. That is 2 days after Trent Brown, their starting right tackle, one of the best in the game, tested positive for COVID-19. So if you're following our drift here, the Raiders could be playing this game with a completely new offensive line in the middle of the NFL season, something Derek Carr, you can tell in his voice, is a little bit nervous about.
Out there, that's who's out there. Nobody cares about this or that. They just see the win-loss, and that's all that matters in this business. So, with that said, we came in with the mindset today. You're like, oh, dang, you feel bad for those guys. You know, you feel for them, you pray for them, make sure they're okay, make sure their families are okay, all those kind of things. But at the same time, we have a job to do while we're here. So you have to compartmentalize a little bit. You have to separate the two once you step on the field. And, hey, we have to act like this is game day. We have to act like this is the group we're rolling out with, so get ready to play.
And this is coming off of a bye week for Vegas, in which they rolled into the bye off one of the best wins the organization has had in what? Last 5-6 years, if not longer, going on the road to Kansas City, a place they hadn't won in Lord even knows how long. 40-32, outscore and out offense, out firepower Pat Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Kansas City Chiefs. They were feeling themselves going into a game where they needed all the confidence they could have, all the continuity possible. Now Vegas goes into a game against Tampa Bay possibly without their starting offensive line. Sunday we'll know the tests coming back on point of care testing. The positives or the contact tracing went back from the Monday positive with Trent Brown. So the other 4 starters on the offensive line, excluding Brown, they could be cleared coming up on Sunday. The way the NFL runs the restricted list, if you come in contact, and that's why you've been placed on the COVID-19 restricted list, you need 5 days clear from your contact with the infected party, testing negative throughout that entire incubation period. That's how Rodney Hudson and everybody else, Colton Miller, Denzel Good, and Gabe Jackson, the starting right guard, could all play coming up this weekend. And also, they're starting safety Jonathan Abram, who's one of the better young safeties in the league, also could miss this game against Tampa Bay this weekend. So another reason why you want to keep an eye on that game in Las Vegas. Le'Veon Bell most likely makes his debut with the Kansas City Chiefs. Don't know what the pitch count is. Don't know what the role in the offense is. But I personally am chomping at the bit to see what Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes cook up for Le'Veon Bell, not only in the run game, but in the pass game, folks. You see Clyde and Le'Veon in the backfield together, 25-26, sandwiched around 15, and that is a danger zone for other offenses. You want to talk about a personnel package that could include Bell, Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Sammy Watkins. Yikes for the rest of the league. It's an absolute must-win game in the game of the week where Romo and Nance will be taking the country pretty much coast to coast in the late window. The New England Patriots, the first time they've been under 500 since 2002. I think it's a little bit misleading, but you are what your record says you are. The record doesn't give any shed any light on the fact that you were a yard away from beating Seattle in Seattle. It also doesn't show that you didn't have, a practice for 2 weeks before came and lost to a Denver team that you definitely should have beat. Those are excuses, right? They're not going to make excuses in New England. All I know is this is a must-win game for the New England Patriots. You don't want to go to 2-4, and maybe for Cam Newton as well. But the San Francisco 49ers coming across the country at 3-3 can't really afford to lose much more ground, especially in that NFC West. And the gold standard on the Sunday night game this weekend, you don't want to see Russell Wilson against Kyler Murray, the gold standard against the new kid on the block. I'm totally down for Wilson, Murray, add DeAndre Hopkins and DK Metcalf into that. And Sunday night is going to be fun as Seattle pays a visit down to Glendale, Arizona, and takes on the Arizona Cardinals. That's the must-see TV for me this weekend. 1-800-224-2004. Tell us if we missed your team, why they're must-see TV for the rest of the country at 1-800-224-2004 inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Andrew Carlson is here. I'm Bill Schmid. We're with you on Sports Map all night. Keep it right here on the Sports Map Radio. Hey, nice meeting you. My guy, Andrew Carlson. Say hello to the people, Andrew.
Hello.
He's very, very shy. We were talking about Ford Loco earlier on in the day, so maybe he just went to the convenience store and grabbed one. Guys, we're inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts studios without Ford Loco. Don't let a bad battery leave you stranded. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts can test your battery free of charge. If it needs to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact right battery for your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. Keep your car on the road by getting your battery tested for free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices each and every day. 1-800-224-20 about our Ford Loco conversation, saying that if you have to shotgun one, go with the gold flavor. I can't tell you I've ever had the gold. I have had the pink lemonade and the strawberry kiwi, I want to say, but gold sounds like an entirely different venture.
I think it also has the most alcohol, if I'm not mistaken. Now,
Oh.
I haven't had a Four Loko for years, but if my memory serves me correctly, which it usually doesn't when it comes to Four Lokos, I believe the gold has the most alcohol.
Nothing is clear when Four Loco is involved. We can assure that. No doubt about it. Man, wow. Brings up some amazing times. I would say memories, but like you just mentioned, there's not much of that comes through. We're inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts studios, guys. We're going to talk college football with Shehan Jeyarajah from Dave Campbell's Texas Football in the next segment of the program, about 10 minutes away from that conversation. He gives you a good reason why SMU is must-see TV this weekend. What's must-see TV for you this weekend in the National Football League or college-wise, man? We could have missed it, and we definitely might have. 1-800-224-2004. Let us know what you got on the tube and what everybody across the country should be watching who are listening to us on the SportsMap Radio Network. We won't be able to see this train wreck, Andrew, for another 2.5 weeks. And I say train wreck with all due respect. I really do. But Tom Brady apparently finally has his boy in Tampa, Florida. Antonio Brown is signing with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We made the conversation a couple of days ago, and it was centered mostly around the Seattle Seahawks. I did not want to see Antonio Brown paired up with DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Russell Wilson and his improvisational skills that are just second to none. Little did I think and send my mind back to a point in time in the middle of the offseason when rumors were circulating that Tom Brady was going to make his decision on where he was going to play football for the majority or the end of his career on a team that was going to be interested or be down with bringing in Antonio Brown. When those rumors came out, I don't know if you and I were working together, Andrew, yet, but I look at Tom Brady. I see the greatest quarterback that I've ever seen play from a mental capability standpoint, translating it to the football field. Yeah, you can say system, whatever. It takes two to tango. It takes a mind and a body to put all of that together. He is one of the most dangerous and craziest players that I've ever seen at the position, the way that he can contain and control the mind and control the game, right? But if he was going to make his decision on where he signed, I said it on this network when I first got in here, Tom Brady, I don't know you personally, but if you make your decision on where you're going to play football in 2020 based upon Antonio Brown coming with you, well, then you're an idiot. Like there's just no other way to say it. This was in the middle of this man starting his rap career, which is actually better, I think, than Le'Veon Bell's rap, to be honest. Not better than my guy Steven Jackson's, though. He was also in the midst of multiple run-ins with law enforcement. He had just gone completely off and I think retired from the National Football League like 3 or 4 different times on Twitter in the span of about a week and a half. And he had called out just about every single individual that had ever helped him get to where he had been auxiliary of himself in the National Football League on Twitter and brought up every bit of dirty laundry you could imagine. And I'm looking at Tom Brady, a guy that I revere for his mental capacity and his ability to analyze the game in such fractions of seconds, put his team in the best position to win because of his ability to understand the way the game is moving and the way the flow is rolling. And if he was going to make his decision based upon if Antonio Brown could come and be a part of it, I couldn't help you with that. There was nothing anybody was going to say to Tom to say, hey, TB, you know what you're doing here, dude? You're really going to hitch your wagon to this guy? Dude that just had 9 years, we're probably going to put him into the Hall of Fame with Ben Roethlisberger, and he tossed him to the curb by bringing up the 2 times that he had run-ins with the law? Or he was going to go and drag up all the dirty laundry about one of the men that brought you to the point that you're at, and Robert Kraft, and diss him like he did on social media in front of the entire country after he brought him in a troubled situation? Like, it didn't make any sense to me at that point. Now that we're 7 weeks into the football season and Antonio Brown can come back week 9, I can forget some of those things. If not forget totally, you can push those to the side, right? We only need you for 2 months, dude. Listen, delete Instagram, delete Twitter. We'll have a good season. We'll finish out strong and we'll go to the playoffs. I don't know, especially after what Bruce Arians said about Antonio Brown in the beginning of the year, at the beginning of the offseason, when the conversation first arose initially, and he said he was, quote, too much of a diva for what they wanted to build in Tampa Bay. This feels all Tom to me. Andrew, I don't know where you fall in on this. This has Tom written all over. He went to Jason Light and said, listen, dude, we can do something special here, especially with this guy. And they made it work. Doesn't feel like Bruce Arians completely changed his mind all of a sudden on what kind of dude and what kind of player he thinks Antonio Brown is. But it appears that Brady finally got the guy he wants with him. I mean, he invited this dude to stay at his house with his kids after we had seen this man yell at his children on camera to get back into a police car. So Tom sees something that no one else sees in Antonio Brown. Maybe he can reach down deep into that mind that is AB and channel the greatness that he is. And I'm here to see it. We'll see it week 9 against the New Orleans Saints. What are we going to see in college football this weekend? Shehan Jeyarajah is here previewing college football's weekend next. Sports Map All Night. the main card, I should say, tomorrow in Abu Dhabi is going to start up at 1 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern time. So set your alarms, folks out listening to us on the West Coast, the Mightier 1090. You're going to have to set your alarm for 11 a.m. to make sure you're watching the main card, Andrew. This kind of, I know I can't have it both ways because I a lot of times fall asleep during the main event because it starts usually local time around 1 a.m. But couldn't we have met in the middle and the main card start at 6?
It makes no sense. Let's be honest. It makes no sense because I understand you may not want to compete with the late night college football or the World Series, but the fight that everyone wants to see, Khabib Gaethje, that's not going on probably until, I don't know, 11:30 Central Time at the earliest. Every other sporting event is long over by then. You will still have all the audience you want to have. I really don't understand this quote-unquote special start time that they've been pitching.
Were they really that worried about competing against Texas State and BYU in the nightcap? I mean, you saw the World Series ratings. They just came back. They averaged a 9.5. Sounds good on the surface. Just add some context. The NFL Pro Bowl usually averages an 11. So you already know the viewership that is going to be there. You're still going to be able to tap into the entire fight market. And Andrew, I don't know, maybe it's just me and the circles that I can kind of roll with and the people that I hold, close around me. They're not necessarily morning people, especially on a Saturday afternoon. They're more like our friends hanging out with Four Loko. Those guys don't usually wake up at noon on a Saturday. Hey, I don't know. I'll be still tuning in. I'll be watching. Just make some arrangements to make sure. Special start time, Khabib and Gaethje tomorrow at 2 Eastern time. All right, what is the NBA going to do? Tell you next. Sportsman Ball Night.
Hi, this is Jake, CEO of Rocket Mortgage. Making the right financial decisions has never been more important. We can help guide you to those right decisions now.
Well done.
Mortgage rates.
Whoa, well done.
Call 8338-ROCKET or
that was the
visit us at
Tyga
rocketmortgage.com to start your
mixtape.
You'll be well on your way.
I feel like he did a mixtape series of Well Done. Well Done 2, Well Done 3. Did 6 different Well Dones. That'd be his drop, where Rick Ross would just go, oh. Instead, Tyga was just, whoa, well done.
In addition, we may be able to help you refinance with little or no.
Tyga was hot for a minute.
At Rocket Mortgage, we're committed to every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, giving you the best mortgage experience.
Bro, everybody's career does when they start hanging out with Kim Kardashian. Or any Kardashian for that matter. Actually, I'll say this. I didn't hear about Tyga until after after he was in the Bedrock music video as just a straight up extra. This dude wasn't even able to get on the track and he's in the house. Why are we listening to him? I can make your bed rock. They fight for you. Oh. Got that good.
Insurance company take advantage of you. Our attorneys
fight Michael Jackson bad. Damn it, now that song's be stuck in my head all night. So, I don't know if I told you this last week. So most of the times on these Friday night shows, I'll roll over by my girlfriend's house after the show, I should say. So I'm driving over there. It's 12:30. I did some stuff for the Sunday show, send it over to Belmer. And all of a sudden I look back, bro, and this cop, I crossed him going 6-7 miles over the speed limit. He fucking wheels around and follows me for a good 4 miles, dude. And all of a sudden, as I'm driving and I see him behind me, I'm tapping around. Didn't have my license on me. So I'm driving around at 1 a.m., no license, getting tailed by this cop for no reason, tweaking out.
Call so that we can fight for a compensation to cover your medical bills and more. If
he was being an ass too. He rolled right up behind me and didn't flip on his brights, but kind of flashed him a little bit. And I'm like, come on, dude, why you got to do that to me? Come on, man. I'm
Compensation.
nervous. Don't do that to me.
743-7254.
Yeah, come on. You don't have to do that to me.
This is Sports Map All Night with Bill Schmidt on the Sports Map Radio Network.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Bill Schmidt.
We're back here on Sports Map All Night. Bill Schmidt hanging out with my guy Andrew Carlson inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Each and every weeknight, we take you into week number 7 in the National Football League. 9th inning, Max Muncy at the dish. He's 2 for 3 on the night. The Dodgers all over the Rays here in game number 3. It's 6-1, the score. And started out early as Justin Turner put the Dodgers up. Top half of the first inning, 2-out solo shot off of your guy, Charlie Morton. And we we're pumping Charlie Morton's postseason success, Andrew, especially in the World Series, in particular with the Houston Astros. Well, the Dodgers had some payback for Charlie Morton. 4 1/3, 7 hits, 5 runs, all earned against the veteran right-hander.
You know, I'm a little upset, Bill, if I'm going to be honest here. Charlie Morton, you know, absolutely beloved in the city of Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And you have all that love for you coming from Houston. And you can't do us a little favor and give us this performance in Game 7 of the ALCS? You're going to save all your cement mixers for the Dodgers, Charlie? I see how it is.
Yeah, hey. Maybe he was hanging out with your boy Mike Fiers too much and they had a plan going.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he did do you guys dirty. He diced up the Astros pretty good in Game 7. I mean, as good as I'd seen him pitch. That's why you and I were both feeling him going into this game, saying, "Hey, man, Rays steal Game 2 with Snell on the bump. Maybe not as much of a steal if you look at the pricing at plus 115. They weren't that much of underdogs. You get Morton in there going up against Buehler. They're both big game pitchers. They take Game 3, maybe. No, that battleship was hit again tonight.
Yeah, he was throwing out meatballs that had the whole Dodgers lineup looking at the ball like they had saucers for eyes. It was just unreal. They teed off on him from first inning on.
Yeah, J10 hit. Boom. And Battleship was on. He was getting rocked real good, especially at the top of this lineup. Just listen to what the top of the Dodgers lineup did tonight. Betts, 2 for 5. Seager, 1 for 3 with a walk. Turner, 2 for 5 with 2 runs scored and 1 driven in on the solo shot. Muncy, 2 for 4 with a walk and 2 RBIs. The first 4 in the batting order just obliterating the Rays here tonight. A 6-1 game. They've got 10 hits already, and it is about as far from gone as you could be. Austin Barnes also hit himself a solo shot, solo shot, and this one had a sac fly, bringing in his other RBI. On the night, the backup catcher getting the start. We know that the Dodgers lineup is as potent as any. This is no breaking news to anybody. But when Arozarena, Lau, Choi, Wendell, they're all held hitless in a game, it's going to spell bad news. And you had Zunino in there as well for the Rays. They just haven't been able to get anything going. Just 3 hits on the night for Tampa Bay. They scratched a run across just on a double in the 5th inning to try to make it as respectable as possible. Once again, 6-1. And now it goes into tomorrow night where Julio Urias was lights out, as clean as you could be. 9 up, 9 down in the clincher Game 7 in the NLCS. You roll in going on a bullpen day for Tampa Bay. If there's any team in the majors that I'm feeling confident bullpenning a World Series game, it's Tampa Bay. But Urias was so good last time out. That's just ingrained in my mind how good he was against the Braves.
Yeah, and on top of that, as much as we have lauded Tampa Bay's bullpen this postseason, rightfully so, because by and large they've been excellent. The last time they had to have a bullpen game, they lost to the Astros, and their bullpen isn't exactly the best.
Mm-hmm.
Significantly worse than what the Dodgers have. So at this point, I feel like this was the game that the Rays really, really needed to win because Morton is probably their best big game pitcher, and he and the team really fell flat on their faces tonight.
And this is just another interesting decision. I get it. It's nothing that's going to, maybe affect the full outcome of the series, but it's a 6-1 game. Top of the order is coming in for Tampa Bay. Jansen on the bump for the Dodgers as he tries to close out here game number 3 with a game tonight, game Saturday, game Sunday, 3 straight days with games. I mean, there is a opportunity, a possibility that you could be sweeping out, and this is our last show with a baseball game on television here on Sports Map All Night, our Monday through Friday program.
A very decent chance. I mean, I picked the Dodgers in 5 because I didn't expect the Rays pitching or lineup to be able to hold up through the series. So I would suck because I've really enjoyed having the live sports on while we're going, but I think we'll be able to manage.
Oh, no doubt about it. We'll have so much good stuff to talk about. You kidding me? Right into the heart of the NFL season, college football really in full swing. I was more just feeling bad for the heat that Astros fans are taking tonight. Did you see the picture, Andrew Carlson, of the 4 Astros fans at the World Series tonight? They are getting lambasted on social media tonight.
Let them come.
What are you making fun of these guys for? They're just taking in a ball game. Now, I mean, maybe people are upset because they're not wearing masks. I don't know, whatever. It's a personal decision, I guess, but they're just hanging out watching the game, and people are just, oh, you're a little cocky over there, Astros fans. I don't know. I saw a Brewers fan at the NLCS. There was no chance they were making it. That's coming from a guy that loves that team. They're whatever. You got to go see a team. I wouldn't bat an eye if all of a sudden I saw a Baltimore Orioles fan there at the World Series tonight. Good for you. You know what? If you got the money to go flex in a 11,000 seat state, 11,000 capacity at a World Series game, you go right ahead. I'm waiting for if indeed the Super Bowl has that type of an outcome where they limit capacity and they end up just selling whatever, like 20,000 tickets to the Super Bowl. Could you imagine the flexes on Instagram, Andrew, we're going to see from the folks that make it out to that game? That's going to be incredible to watch. So, hey, good for them. I'm not going to rip on anybody for going in and taking the ball game in. And their team was as close as anybody could have been. Game 7 of the World Series. Might as well take a shot at it if you're a Houston Astros fan. If you're an NBA fan hoping to get to games this season, maybe you're a season ticket holder, we got some information for you. Shams was the first one on the story earlier on today that the NBA is planning to return as soon as December 22nd. The hope is that the season could start up a little bit and get a little bit of a taster, a little warm up before Christmas Day. Now, I've advocated for a long time now, the season should just start on December 25th. It's the biggest basketball day pre-February, really, that you really get juiced up for. And by that time, I think people are kind of thirsting for some NBA to get back into the palette. I don't know about October. Middle of October, right about now, is when you would have the NBA season starting. And I'm still watching baseball. World Series is wrapping up normally, right knee deep into the NFL. Once you get closer to the NFL playoffs, then jump yourself into the NBA schedule. So this is all predicated upon discussions going on right now with Adam Silver and the Board of Governors, discussing a plan as to when the season could start. Adam Silver stated in the beginning of this whole thing, after the NBA Finals and, even before, while everybody was still in the bubble, he said that the league would give at least 8 weeks of notice to the Players Association, 2 players, 2 teams, before the season was going to start. A lot of eyeballs reaching over to right now, October 30th. So we're sitting about a week away from what could be somewhat of a deadline in the negotiations. That's the deadline as to when the NBA or the NBA PA can make the decision to kind of tear up the CBA for next year. And they can play under a completely different set of economic rules for next year. That decision has to be made by the 30th, so 1 week from today. all the league circles around, that feels like a very, very limited possibility that would actually happen. No one's completely ruling it out, however, because of the income and the money being brought into the league, revenue being brought into the league. But the bubble saved the salary cap and the structure of the CBA in the NBA. But the idea is draft will be on November 18th. That was decided earlier this year, or this week, I should say. 72 game season, and a 2-week break could be implemented in the middle of the season while skipping the All-Star game and the All-Star break. Travel-wise, limit that, as well as the possibility of some series play between teams. If you're an LA Laker team going to, say, I don't know, San Antonio, and you're going to make 2 trips there during the year, you'll just play 2 games in 3 days and head on out to try to limit somewhat of the travel. But it does appear the goal and all conversations being geared towards games being played in home markets. That is a good thing because Andrew Carlson, I could not believe the NBA Players Association would throw their guys back into a bubble within 2 months of just leaving it.
Oh, there was no chance they were doing the bubble. I mean, especially with the revenue that the NBA needs to really sustain themselves moving forward, there was no chance that they were doing the whole, hey, we're not selling tickets again thing. Even if they're only selling tickets for 50-odd games this season, they were going to take every single chance they could to make that happen.
Well, and that's a good point that you bring up there, because no part of this report and the stories coming out about the Board of Governors conference call that Adam Silver had earlier on today, none of them are saying, hey, we're going to have a bunch of fans in the stands right out of the gates in December. That really hasn't been discussed, but just putting it in home markets, one, allows for, I think, what we're seeing in the NFL, where it can be governed by the states and governed by the local side and the local legislature, where you can take into account where and how the virus is trending in certain home cities. And then you can kind of make the determination, and the teams can make those decisions based on the liability that they feel comfortable, exposing their organization to. I think it's the easiest way about it, and probably the most logical. If indeed it ends up happening, that's going to be another part of it. 1-800-224-2004 inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Let's go into the NFL. I don't know how this man, Eric Bieniemy, does not have a head coaching job. You'll hear why in the next segment of the program. Also, Sam Darnold can't catch a break. And Tom Brady finally puts to bed the rumors of what happened with Nick Foles. That all gets answered before Spencer Kites here in 15 minutes. Keep it right here on Sports Map All Night. Bill Schmidt, Andrew Carlson, into the night on Sports Map Radio. Inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, I'm Bill Schmidt. My guy Andrew Carlson is here. This is Sports Map All Night. Don't let a bad battery leave you stranded. Professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts can test your battery free of charge. If it needs to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact right battery for your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. Keep your car on the road by getting your battery tested for free at O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. 1-800-224-2004 if you want to join the conversation here tonight. What's must-see TV for you this weekend in the National Football League or in the college game? Shehan Jeyarajah was here about 30 minutes ago, and he gave you the games that he is jonesing to see. He will be at Cincinnati SMU this weekend tomorrow, and tomorrow during the afternoon. I say afternoon because it starts, the main card, it will start 2 p.m. Eastern time for UFC 254, Khabib against Gaethje. Spencer Kite from UFC.com is going to join us in the next segment of the program, about 10 minutes away from that conversation. And you're going to notice Spencer's name when it pops up in the middle of the pay-per-view, right in the bottom. They read tweets and put up tweets during the pay-per-view. He's always up there. Writer for UFC.com, knows these guys and knows this card better than anybody around, and he's going to stop by and give you some knowledge and a couple of possible sleepers that you're not anticipating seeing or maybe investing in tomorrow for UFC 254. So don't want to miss that with Spencer Kite in about 10 minutes on the Progressive Guest Hotline. Eric Bieniemy has been floated around in head coaching conversations for seemingly 3 or 4 years now. Offensive coordinator with the Kansas City Chiefs. Listen to Eric Bieniemy and tell me how this guy is not a head coach with this type of philosophy that you would not want to play for this man running the offense in Kansas City. Eric Bieniemy gives you the idea in the difference in the National Football League. Now, he's a player, was a player in the league for a long time, running backs coach for teams in Minnesota, has coached under Andy Reid for a multitude of years, been around the league, been around the game, played it at that position, now finally running the best offense in football. They have as many stats and numbers as you could possibly have, but Eric Bieniemy says only one of those stats matter in the National Football League.
Our guys are going to do whatever is needed to go out and win. Because when it's all said and done with, we talk about this each and every week. It's not about the numbers. Okay? It's about the alphabets. And the only 2 alphabets that matter in this industry is a W and an L. Whatever we have to do to get that W, that's all what matters. And then you know what? We're going to come back, put a game plan together for the following week, and we're going to get it going and get ready to go. Yes, ideally, we want all of our players to have all the success that they can. But we do know this. If we can do this together and do it for one another and do it the right way, okay, it'll give us a chance to go out and pursue the goals that we want to pursue.
Guy is just, there's a certain way you talk to professional athletes. There's a certain way you talk. I've always said this in general. There's a certain way you talk to people when you're not necessarily wanting something out of somebody, but wanting to get something out of someone, wanting someone to lean in a certain direction, want somebody to give their full attitude, effort, and energy towards a certain goal. Man, Eric Bieniemy just knows the right way to talk to people, it seems like. I don't know what he needs to do to get a head coaching job. It appears, Andrew, that he is on the short list of guys that the Houston Texans are looking at, and Deshaun Watson already advocated that he wants Eric Bieniemy to be the guy. Reports coming out, I think it was Lock and Four that had it first, right after Bill O'Brien got let go following week 4, that Deshaun was asked by McNair who he would look at. It appears that this will finally be the year that Eric Bieniemy gets a head coaching job. Those are the types of conversations and the attitudes that will help you win as a head coach in this league. That's the type of attitude that you need to inspire young guys. And also guys who've been around the block, right? Le'Veon Bell, 28 years old, made his money now in this league, been an incredibly productive player at that position for a while. Eric Bieniemy talks about Le'Veon Bell, the addition to that room, to that offense, and gives you a little peek inside Le'Veon Bell, a side we don't usually get to see very often. This is Eric Bieniemy.
You know what? He gives us an additional piece to the puzzle. I mean, he's a big back. His productivity over the years it speaks for itself because we've lined up and played him when he had those days in Pittsburgh. We know what he can do and we know what he brings to the table. He's a great receiver out of the backfield. He can block. He can pick up blitzes and protection. And on top of that, as a ball carrier, he's at one point in time one of the elite backs in the league. Now, what he can bring to the table here, obviously he gives 25 a compliment because now you got a little bit of thunder and lightning going on with those two.
I mean, there's no doubt about it that I'm excited to see those two in the backfield together. Clyde and Le'Veon are both major factors out of the backfield in the pass game. You know that's what Kansas City wants to do and is best when they are doing at a high level. And a lot of times you don't see offenses in the NFL in particular go with the two-back system or the two backs in the formation at the same time, I should say. But when you got two guys that can also hurt teams out of the backfield, especially if they get matched up on linebackers, good luck. I mean, good luck covering, because one of them is going to end up getting matched up with a Mike linebacker, and that's wraps, especially if Tyreek Hill is covered or Travis Kelce is covered. They just now can get at you in so many ways. Do I expect to see Le'Veon Bell on the field for 50, 60% of the snaps? Probably not. But once playoff time comes and you need to start getting, championship drives where you take 10, 11, 12 plays and try to take 5, 6, 7 minutes off the clock and you're running it 8, 9 times in a drive, man, you can spell Edwards-Helaire with Le'Veon Bell or vice versa. You're sitting pretty in the National Football League, especially in an AFC, where controlling the ball and controlling the offense and keeping it out of a couple of specific playmakers' hands. I think of Lamar Jackson. Running the football is the easiest way to do it. You got to score points, but you also got to be able to limit the opportunities your opponent has. When you can run the ball like that, you're going to do a pretty good job of it. Okay. This also came across the wire today, and I want to get into this before Spencer Kite stops by of UFC.com. Nick Foles was reportedly stiffed by Tom Brady. Take a listen. Tom explains.
Hi, Tom. You had a nice post-game exchange with Aaron Rodgers and the same with Drew in week 1. And you've been
to cut this early. We're not going to have time.
Yep. Sorry about that.
Is there a reason why you didn't seek Nick Foles out after the Bears game and headed to the locker room? There's been some folks wondering about that, and I want to see if you could clear that up.
I didn't even think about that. I think Nick Foles is
You
a
liar.
player and a Super Bowl champ, and I don't know one reason or another why I wouldn't do that. But I don't know. Sometimes I've run off the field, sometimes I haven't. Sometimes if I have a personal relationship, like I have with Drew and Justin
Oh, yeah. So apparently he's not much of a fan of Nick Foles. That's what I got out of that. We'll keep reading into it as much as we can. Spencer Kite is here from UFC.com. Next, Sports Map Radio. all night. Bill Schmidt hanging out with you. My guy Andrew Carlson in here as well. And now we get to welcome one of my favorites on the Progressive Guest Hotline. Progressive, making it easy. Bundle your home and car insurance. Get your quote online at progressive.com today. Spencer Kite, UFC.com, joins us now. 2:54 tomorrow night. Spencer, thanks for joining us, man. Always enjoy talking to you before these pay-per-views. Most of the times we were doing this on Saturday mornings. We upgraded to the night before. But good thing we're not doing this on the Saturday show, Spencer, because we would be interrupting you watching the pay-per-view tomorrow. What's up with this start time that we're getting from Abu Dhabi?
I think a big part of it is just that with the, time zone change and the fight being such an important fight, such a big fight that, as much as most of the events from over there or all of the events from over there thus far have been tailored to sort of the usual standard North American viewing times, moving it to the morning for us gives these athletes the opportunity to keep kind of the routine they're used to, rather than fighting at these odd hours where they're normally sleeping. Like these events in Abu Dhabi, you have to remember, we've been watching them when we're used to watching them, but these athletes are fighting at odd hours of the morning. You hear the broadcasters often talking about not really quite knowing what day it is or what time it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that has a bit of an impact on performance because you're so used to making that walk at, say, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock in the morning, and then all of a sudden you're doing it at 6 or at 7 or at 8 a.m. It just throws everything off. And so I think because this is such a massive fight, carries so much attention, so much importance, the UFC said, look, let's shift it so that the athletes have the best opportunity. And then they're also not going up against the afternoon of college football and whatever else is on tap for Saturday night.
That's actually a good point. Now, I didn't think about it in that way. And, selfishly, media, you think of me before anybody else. So I'm not surprised that I immediately thought of me watching the fights at 3 p.m. But you're right about having your body clock be synced up into the most important competition of your life. It's one of the reasons why I hate watching NBA basketball at like 11 a.m. because these dudes are used to playing a game at 7 o'clock at night. Why would we mess with that and expect them to be at their best? You're right. This is such an impactful fight, not only for the lightweight division, but also, for the entire brand of UFC, because Khabib right now is as popular as anybody I think has been in the sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the winner of this one, regardless of who it is, comes away as one of the biggest stars in the UFC and a household name for people who enjoy the sport, not necessarily, crossing over into the mainstream per se. But if Khabib wins, it's 29-0. It's the next level of superstardom for a guy that has already been able to become a superstar in this sport with some of the wins, with the personality that he's shown, with the performances we've seen. And if Justin Gaethje goes out there and becomes the first guy to beat him, that just elevates him to this next level where you combine that with the highlight reel he has. His nickname is appropriately the highlight. He has more post-fight bonuses than he has fights in the UFC. And if he goes out and beats Khabib to become the undisputed lightweight champion, he just goes to the next level. So I think it really does make sense for the UFC to give these men and these women competing at this card the greatest opportunity to present themselves.
Spencer Kite talking UFC 254 with us here on Sports Map all night via the Progressive Guest Hotline. Quote, buy and save on home insurance with Progressive's new home quote Explorer only at progressive.com. Spencer, you and I have been talking before most of these pay-per-views since the shutdown happened, and you and I have talked, and I've been pretty open. I'm still getting into the fight game and became a Plus subscriber during the shutdown, and that seems when Gaethje, hit the mainstream, and he became a household name to common fight fans. You just mentioned it, what it would do to his stardom across for him personally. What about the brand if somebody who during the shutdown, when UFC was the only sport going in North America, what do you think it would do for the brand if he does become champion tomorrow?
I'll be the first to admit that Justin Gaethje is a guy whose style doesn't necessarily appeal to anyone. I have a good friend named Danny Austin who covers the sport as well. Told me that, he gathered a bunch of people together when Justin Gaethje was fighting Dustin Poirier because he thought this is the fight that'll get these people into this sport. It's good. It's guaranteed to be a great fight. And it was an absolute war, a great back and forth fight. And a bunch of them who weren't fight fans were kind of just casual peripheral fans, kind of looked at him and were like, this isn't for me. And it didn't make sense to him at the time, but we've talked about it and you sort of get it, right? Like, this isn't for everybody. So there are going to be people who automatically go, this isn't what I'm into. They're more interested in, the guys that are going to show you that incredible technique and you're going to see those submission finishes or whatever the case may be. But for those of us that love this sport and those of us and the people that, see the highlights and see the knockouts and see those kinds of performances and guys doing backflips off the cage in celebration, Justin Gaethje is that magnet that just draws you in. It is impossible to be interested in this sport, sit down and watch him compete and not want to circle the next time he's going to compete on your calendar as soon as it's announced. And I think that, coupled with, as we said, if he goes out and becomes the first person to defeat Khabib Nurmagomedov, who is 28-0 in a sport where no one goes undefeated, it just rockets him to a different level of celebrity, and it sets up a possibility of numerous great, big, entertaining, wild fights that I'm trying to not let myself get excited about yet.
Now, you study this sport, as you just mentioned. The guy loves the sport, been around it for a long time, covers at UFC.com, and you'll see Spencer Kite and his Twitter handle pop up all day tomorrow during the pay-per-view. Spencer, what about Khabib? And when you saw him personally, just watching him at the weigh-in, he looked incredibly, I don't know about surprised is the right word, but relieved, I think is the easiest way to say it, that one, he made weight. What can that do to affect a fighter this close to game time?
I mean, Khabib is one of those guys that and there's many of them in this sport, making weight. For him, making 155 pounds championship weight at lightweight is not easy. It is a difficult process. It is a many week, many month process that he goes through, and it's hard on the body, but it's hard on the mind at times. But it's sort of, as you said, that relief of, okay, this is the tough part. If you talk to athletes, you talk to fighters, the hardest part, the thing they tell you that is the hardest part is that weight cut. It is that training camp of going through and dieting and counting calories and limiting intake and, watching your friends and your significant other have all this food and good times that you can't have because 2, 3, 4, 8 weeks down the line, you have to hit a certain target on the scale. The day after, when they get in the cage, that's the fun part. And so I think that look we saw when he was on the scale, when he makes 55, it is that relief. It is that, okay, the hard part's done. And I don't think for a guy like Khabib, it necessarily has any impact on performance. It hasn't thus far, and I don't think it does tomorrow against Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, I can only tell you. I mean, I'm not very good at making any kind of weight, so I don't like sitting. I don't like sitting out on any meal, Spencer. I can tell you that much right now. Let's focus a little bit on the guys on the main card, on a little bit lower, the ones that you'll hear a little bit earlier before Khabib and Gaethje main event tomorrow, UFC 254. Walt Harris. I was jacked up to see him against Overeem on a fight night. What can we see out of Big Ticket?
I mean, first and foremost, it's impossible not to root for a guy like Walt Harris. For those that don't know, he was originally scheduled to face Alistair Overeem last December. It was going to be the biggest fight of his career, a main event opportunity. He had to pull out of that fight because there was an ongoing search for his stepdaughter, Nia Blanchard, at the time. She was later found to have been kidnapped and murdered. Walt has subsequently come back. His family, they've dealt with things. There's a new law that has been passed in their area called the Nia's Law to deal with some of the ramifications and situations that contributed to her kidnapping. He came back and fought Alistair Overeem in May, and you just knew that it was a difficult situation, right? Alistair Overeem, a guy that's been in the fight game forever, walked for his fight back after this tragic event. It just didn't line up right. It went the way you kind of expected it to go, where Overeem gets the finish. But now he comes back. It's been the interesting thing and the ironic thing is that tomorrow will be the 1-year anniversary of when Emil went missing.
Wow.
And so I'm kind of
Man.
everything, not behind him because I know that it's always present in his life, but to have that year to rebuild, to regain some of that stability, to get the first fight with Overeem out of the way, and now get a chance to go out and compete against Alexander Volkov, a very good fighter, a top 10 fighter, and have a chance to sort of rebuild some of that momentum that was lost a year ago. It makes it impossible not to cheer for him tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I remember hearing that story a little bit, and to think about how it's coming full circle that quickly to 1 year to the day. Wow. Plus 160 underdog. You mentioned it. Everybody's going to be pulling for Walt Harris tomorrow. What about Robert Whittaker? Guys that are going to be going on just before Gaethje and Khabib at 186. Whittaker has all the accolades you could imagine there as well. And this, as Vegas has, sitting right at a pick 'em.
It was interesting to me to see that for much of the build to this fight, Robert Whittaker was an underdog going into it as a former middleweight champion, coming off a good win against Darren Till into this matchup against Jared Cannonier. It surprised me that Whittaker was the underdog and that this is a pick 'em. And that's not a slight against Jared Cannonier, who has looked very, very good in his 3 fights at middleweight, a guy that, started his UFC career at heavyweight and has now sort of worked his way down to 185. But he's coming off a long layoff. He hasn't fought since the end of September last year. He had, I believe, a bicep injury or a shoulder injury that he had, or a pec that he had to undergo surgery. So it's been a while that he's competed, and now he's stepping in against a former world champion and a guy who is looking to get back to that point. And so for me, this is a huge fight. It's one that I'm really looking forward to because I like both guys, and I think the way Israel Adesanya dismantled Paulo Costa last time out and has looked so great during his ascent to the title, winning the title from Robert Whittaker, I think the winner of this one sets himself up in a position where they're potentially facing Israel for the belt in 2021, and it should be a really great fight.
Israel is one of the craziest guys that I've ever seen in this fight game. Is he the most electrifying guy in the sport right now?
He's up there. I mean, Justin Gaethje's up there as well. There's a bunch of them, but Israel is Izzy is a combination of things that you don't often get because it's not just the in-cage performance. He has that outside of the cage swagger and personality, and he'll hit you with these great lines, and he'll hit you with these little quips and comments that are sneaky and sly. And he's on Twitter starting fights with just about anybody that wants to flex fingers with him. And so he is the complete package.
Oh, he is fun, man. Stay Salty Bay is just one of the best trademarks that I could imagine. He's got to put that on merch, no doubt about it. Spencer, thanks, dude. I'm looking forward to it tomorrow. I'm looking forward to your coverage in particular. Selfishly, as a reader, everybody should go follow along. Spencer Kite, you're going to find him all day tomorrow. KYTE is how you find him on Twitter. Spencer Kite, straight up. Follow the Twitter handle. Get the coverage, UFC.com. We'll be watching and we'll be following along. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Always a pleasure, man. Thanks for having me.
That's Spencer Kite joining us once again, guys. UFC.com on the Progressive Guest Hotline. Progressive is proud to honor our veterans by donating cars to move their lives forward, especially in times of need. Learn more about their Keys to Progress program and plans for 2020 at keys2progress.com. As we're talking with Spencer Kite on the TV that I got going on here, just saw the highlights of Tony Ferguson, Gaethje in the beginning of the shutdown. Man, I forgot how bloody Gaethje left Tony Ferguson, a guy that's been so well respected in UFC for so long. Let him just absolutely have it through a 5-round interim championship bout. So they'll fight for the World Lightweight Championship tomorrow, 2:00 Eastern time, the start for the main card of UFC 254. Come on back, and Sam Darnold just can't catch a break. Fill you in next. Sports Map all night.
You better pay off that Darnold piece here, damn it.
Park Studios. Here's Bill Schmidt.
Hour number 3, the final hour of the program into the weekend. Andrew Carlson and Bill Schmidt. That's me. Andrew Carlson's back in our Houston Mothership Studios, and the 3 plays that pay are 35 minutes away. What else do I got to say? Nowhere else you want to be than right here on Sports Map all night when Andrew Carlson, who was 5-1 last week, steps up to the window and gives you the 3 plays that pay. Andrew, feeling confident in the 6 plays this weekend?
Even more confident than last week.
Ooh. Okay, well, I'm just trying to get off the schneid here. It's been some ice cold waters for your boy swimming through Antarctica in the 3 plays that pay. So I'm gonna bounce back. I can tell you that we're just gonna try to go 1-0 each game. That's the easiest way to do it when you're coming back from 1-11. All right, Sam Darnold just can't catch a break. Andrew, can we play this? Now, our guy Jake Asman, earlier this week, we talked to Jake on the show. That was Wednesday, right? We got Jake on the program. We got to recap an incredible conversation he had with Joe Namath that you should go and check out. In that interview, Jake had to ask Joe Namath, Hall of Fame quarterback of the New York Jets, what they should do if they get the first overall pick. And Sam Darnold has to answer speculation like this.
Yeah, I have social media. I've seen some of the things, but
should be good.
We got a game to win this week, and that's all we're worried about. How do you do that, Sam? How do you just block out stuff like that when I'm sure when you got here, you thought, you guys were going to just keep climbing? Yeah, for me, that's out of my control. I'm here to, I'm here to do my best and help this team win games. That's all I can do. And, with that, it's preparing every single day as hard as I can and going out to practice and trying to have the best practice I can. That's all I can do.
That's a professional way to handle it, Sam Darnold. But your team is definitely looking at getting Trevor Lawrence in the draft. No doubt about it. It doesn't matter that Broadway Joe said it on the Jake Asman show. The powers that be are looking at getting Trevor Lawrence in the draft. World Series Game 3 is over. The biggest game on the weekend. We'll preview it next. Keep it right here at Sports Map all night. Inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studio, Sports Map all night, 6-2, the final in game number 3 in the World Series tonight. It was from start to finish for the LA Dodgers. They got on Charlie Morton early and often. 5 Ernies against Morton across just 4 1/3 innings. Walker Buehler and his tight pants were outstanding. 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run. It was a double brought in. He also struck out 10 Tampa Rays tonight, and it was a beatdown of epic proportions. After 4 innings, it was 5-0 Dodgers. Rays were able to get 1 back there into the 5th, tack on in the 6th, and Randy Arozarena broke the under of 7.5 in this game with a solo shot on a 3-2 pitch with 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning off of Kenley Jansen. There were some very, very, very frustrated folks. That is an all-time bad beat, but it's also a bad beat for the Tampa Bay Rays. That is a big-time loss for the Rays as they go into a bullpen game tomorrow. We'll talk some more World Series in the next segment of the program. 1-800-224-2004 inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. We will be getting you ready for all the games this weekend in the NFL on Sunday Countdown that starts up 9 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. The biggest game of the weekend, a game that was supposed to happen like 3 weekends ago. Finally, in the Music City, the Titans are going to host the Pittsburgh Steelers. Matchup of the 2 lone unbeaten teams in the AFC. Kenny Vaccaro, Tennessee Titans safety, spoke about grabbing the attention of the national media. The Tennessee Titans aren't worried about who is the headliner going into this matchup.
For us guys in this locker room, we just try not to pay attention to that stuff because as soon as you lose a game or you have a bad game, the narrative will flip immediately. So you see it all the time with teams. They'll have a hot start, and all of a sudden they start dropping a couple games, and then you stink again. So I think the best thing we can do is stay level-headed, focus on the next game, focus on getting to 6-0, and not really worry about any type of hype or anything coming from outside the building because the faster you get that hype, you can lose it just as quick. So we just focus on, coming to work each and every day and focusing on the task at hand. We don't really worry about anything outside the building.
What a difficult position to put yourself in, though, as you are having one of the most successful seasons the organization has had there in Tennessee. And now you go into a game against Pittsburgh this weekend where it's kind of put up or shut up. However, you look at the rest of the division there in the AFC South, it's not going to be a make or break game for the Tennessee Titans. I like what Kenny Vaccaro said right there, though. Start buying into what you're hearing about yourself. A lot of times that's where the success can come to a screeching halt. Derrick Henry, 250 all-purpose yards, more than that last week, and a game winner against the Titans. It's all about staying even keel, though, when you go into a battle of unbeatens.
I don't try to get too overwhelmed. Just prepare like we always have. Like I said, we know what type of team we're facing. They're a good team, playing good football all year. Undefeated, we're both undefeated, so it's gonna be a good matchup. But not try to get too overwhelmed about all the hype. Take it day by day until we get to Sunday.
That's the NFL League's leading rusher, Derrick Henry, with 588 yards on the ground. And his 5-0 Tennessee Titans go up against Ben Roethlisberger this weekend. Big Ben coming back this year has taken a lot of people aback. I was not anticipating we would see a Ben Roethlisberger of this type of performance level. I was not very sold on Ben even coming back and performing this season. However, we knew it had to be better than whatever Duck Hodges was going to be doing. Mason Rudolph as well. The numbers may not be completely eye-popping on the quarterback rating or the yardage. He's like 24th in yardage in the league. But the most important stat for Big Ben, 11 touchdowns and just 1 pick. That pick, lone interception on the year, tied for the best in the NFL. And for Ben, it's not about his stats. It's all about the guys that are around him in that locker room.
I just wanted to
with my teammates. I didn't want to let them down. I wanted them to know that that I can still give them everything that I have, and I'm not trying to prove anything to the outside world. I just wanted to keep playing the game that I love with the teammates that I love for the fans that I love. So that's what's the most important in my mind.
Ryan Tannehill got himself his big contract. You knew that was going to be important for Tanny going into this season. The former number 8 overall pick by the Dolphins was kind of cast and left off before Tennessee brought him in last year. Somewhat of a prove-it contract to back up Marcus Mariota. Took over the job, took the team to the AFC Championship game, and right now 1,300 yards with 13 touchdowns and 2 picks on the year. Has his team playing as well as the Tennessee Titans really ever have. For Ryan Tannehill, what does it mean and what would it mean for your team to go in and beat the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend?
We know we're going to have to go play our best football game. I have a ton of respect for Pittsburgh. Complete team, offense, defense, special teams. They're solid all the way around. Obviously, defensively, what I'm looking at is pretty special. They have an incredible front, do a great job of moving up front, getting penetration, being disruptive in the run and pass game, and then they pair that with a secondary who can make plays as well. So a ton of respect for these guys, and we know that we're gonna have to bring our best.
Number 2 in yards allowed at 285 are the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, tied for first with 24 sacks through 5 games, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and a +5 turnover differential, the Pittsburgh Steelers defensively. Across the board, they're pretty much tops across the league as to stopping the run, stopping the pass as well there in Pittsburgh. And for a team that has been under Mike Tomlin for so long now, the better part of 2 decades, and the success already had within the organization, we talked to Jerry Dulac about it earlier on this week, host on the Pittsburgh Steelers radio network and writes for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, talking about what level Mike Tomlin has been at as a head coach in the National Football League and just how good his organization has been in the time frame that he's been there in Pittsburgh. Guys, it's pretty remarkable when you really dig into the numbers and see how good they have been under Mike Tomlin, where fan bases can get restless, right? Us as fans, we can get a little bit impatient sometimes. And you move back and forth. Luckily, you have a family and an ownership group like the Rooneys who are incredibly level-headed, incredibly patient. People were calling for this guy's job when his team was like 7-9 and 8-8. How many fan bases would kill to be 8-8 as their down year? But Mike Tomlin, that's never good enough, and he sets a certain level of expectation in his room. He previews the Steelers matchup against the undefeated Titans this weekend.
This is a group that has an appetite for the big moment. They're capable of delivering it in the big moment. They complement their offense extremely well in that way. Their offense does an awesome job of taking care of the ball. So that in a nutshell is kind of our challenge this week. We respect it. We were playing them in their home venue. We're humbled and excited to be in these 5-star matchups, man. And we will show that appreciation by how we prepare and hopefully ultimately by how we play as we move into the weekend.
He's right. This is a 5-star matchup. 2 teams 5-0 coming into this game. It's definitely the game of the weekend, despite, the broadcasting groups that'll be back and forth. And Nance and Romo, I guess, are the number 1 team on CBS. But for this game, you get Pittsburgh against a Tennessee Titan team that I really believe is a top flight team in this league. The way that they can run the football as well as throw it at any point in time, they utilize the play action pass a lot more than people seem to enjoy, and a lot of people believe maybe is sustainable throughout an entire season of play. But when I watch Tennessee, I see a team that can be much better defensively than they have shown so far this year. But when you can lean on Derrick Henry, get back A.J. Brown, and then on the other side, Harold Landry and Jadeveon Clowney are going to be rushing the passer. Those are premier players at some of the most important positions on the football field. Mike Tomlin seeing everybody and all those players on the Tennessee side, but understandably so, 22 grabs the attention in the backfield first.
The Tennessee Titans is a group that runs the ball with Henry, and they run the ball with Henry repeatedly at you. So not only do we have to stop the run initially, but this is a guy that averages about 25 carries a game. So regardless of how the game is going, you better be prepared to answer that element of the challenge over the course of the game. He wears you down. He's capable, and they're capable of winning by attrition. As you saw last week, he's also big play capable. It's really astounding that a back his size is capable of going to the house just about every time he touches it.
He really is, though, too. I mean, you watch that game winner or the 94-yarder in regulation against your Texans, Andrew Carlson, last weekend. Then you put on the table the run that he had in overtime. Then you see the game winner where he just bullies over people on his way into the end zone. You don't anticipate a guy that big having breakaway speed. He's one of the fastest guys in this league, especially once he really gets going. Not many guys that are catching number 22. He is that good, that physically imposing, and on his way to a second straight year leading the league in rushing. There in Tennessee at 588 yards through 5 games, 5-0 Steelers against the 5-0 Texans, or Titans, I should say, this weekend in Nashville, Nissan Stadium. The Titans sitting as a 1.5 favorites here. So we can see where the folks out in the desert are leaning and give the edge, at least talent-wise, maybe on paper, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see how it plays out Sunday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. I think it's just going to be an absolutely marvelous game. I can't wait to see it. It's also going to be smack dab in the middle of a noon slate that is a little bit lighter this week. You get the Cowboys against the football team, Bills and Jets, gross. Panthers and Saints, which I think is going to be a really, really fun game. Browns and Bengals, bounce back opportunity for Mayfield and Kevin Stefanski's group against Joe Burrow. The Lions and Falcons, yikes, and the Packers and Texans all sandwiched in with that Steelers and Titans game to headline the early window this weekend in week number 7. Take a look at the afternoon slate as well as World Series game number 4 and 5. Do we see another game while we're live here on Sports Map All Night? Well, we'll discuss next. And the 3 plays that pay are 15 minutes away. Keep it right here at Sports Map All Bill Schmidt alongside Andrew Carlson. Game 3 of the World Series is done. It's a 6-2 final. The LA Dodgers take a 2-1 series lead. A dangerous place for the Tampa Bay Rays to be sitting in right now, down 2-1 going into tomorrow. Discuss in just a couple of seconds. Inside the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, need replacement parts and tools for your repair, maintenance, or restoration project? O'Reilly Auto Parts has you covered. Trust the friendly, knowledgeable parts professionals at O'Reilly Auto Parts. They know what it takes to get the job done right the first time. In fact, professional technicians have been counted on O'Reilly Auto Parts for years. Stop by. One of their professional parts people will talk to you today. Get everything squared away with you at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. We're about 10 minutes away from the 3 plays that pay, and I'm vowing improvement from the last 2 weeks. But hey, I improved last week, Andrew, over week number 5. So subtle improvements. That's all you can ask for in this game.
Look, all you need to do is be better than the man you were the day before, the week before, and you were that last week.
You ain't lying, honey. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do it. Just be better than you were. Be better than you were yesterday. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are hoping that Antonio Brown is better than he was in the last year. Let me run through what we've seen from Antonio Brown just in a little over a calendar year, about 13 and a half months. September 7th, 2019, he was released by the Oakland Raiders at that time. If you remember correctly, that involved recording a private conversation that he had with Coach John Gruden, an altercation in which he threatened to fight Mike Mayock on the practice field. It begged and pleaded for his release on social media, finally got it. 2 days later, signs with the New England Patriots. All right, cool. Goes and plays with the Patriots, catches a touchdown pass in his first game down in Miami. Then on September 16th of that year, that is 1 week after signing with the New England Patriots, his second reported incident of sexual misconduct fired up within a week's time. He was then promptly 4 days later released by the New England Patriots. In that time, he went on, produced a rap album. It was okay. And then January 24th, he was arrested on charges of burglary. July 31st, he was suspended by the NFL for 8 games. And today, he agrees to a 1-year deal with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Andrew, am I off base or saying anything blasphemous about the GOAT, Tom Brady, by saying he's quite ridiculous, or as I said earlier, idiotic, if he wanted to hitch his wagon and pick where he was going to go play football this year, basing it upon the opportunity to bring Antonio Brown into the fold at some point during the season?
No, you're not at all. And honestly, his whole relationship with AB is sort of weird to me. Like,
thank you.
I think that he's
strange,
pretty clearly a little unhinged. I mean, look, Tom Brady's not the most normal character out there.
That's
By
true.
no means, but AB is definitely not on his rocker. And the fact that Tom just like welcomes him into his house and lets him play with his kids and all this stuff, I'm not saying that AB is going to do anything bad, but he clearly is not like all there. And it's just very strange to me that Tom is totally cool with all this stuff taking place under his own roof.
Well, he's clearly not. I just hope that he got the help he needed over the last year. That's all I've ever said. It felt pretty clear that he needed some help, and whether or not that was, emotional, physical, legal help. I mean, he needed some help, and I hope that he got that help within the last year, because there's no denying the insane athletic ability that this dude has and he possesses. But you're right. Lack of a better term, dude's kind of off his rocker. He was completely unhinged for a while. I don't see him and Tom hanging out eating avocado ice cream together. I don't know where their connection ultimately locks in, that Tom is just so drawn to this dude and so trusting of this guy that he was somewhat willing to almost jeopardize his reputation in his final 2 years of his career to make sure that he was a part of the team. It's so bizarre to me. And also, too, let's remember during training camp, or it may have even been earlier. No, it was back in March, like right after Tom gets signed. Bruce Arians was on Adam Schefter, I'm pretty sure it was. Adam Schefter's podcast. Somebody can fact check. It could be Rappaport. I don't know. Congratulations to Ian Rappaport. He's off that ridiculous suspension, by the way. He was on Adam Schefter's podcast. And Bruce Arians, the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, said just didn't see a fit. Thought Antonio Brown was, quote, too much of a diva. This is a guy that's worked with Antonio Brown. Had a lot of success as the offensive coordinator for Antonio Brown. Like, the whole thing seems real toxic to me. But Andrew, you also can pull the tape and remember that I was a little bit interested about Antonio Brown possibly becoming a Green Bay Packer earlier this week.
Yeah, that's just because you didn't want him with the Seahawks more than anything.
Amen. Yeah, that's true. Oh, I can tell you this. I sure didn't want to see him in Tampa.
Yeah, you didn't even think about that one.
No, I thought that ship was totally sailed. I thought it was gone, especially after you hear the Bruce Arians thing. No chance I thought he was going to Tampa. But hey, Tom gets his way. And I don't know. I just don't understand where Tom's love affair with AB comes in. But if that's who you want to hitch your wagon to for the final 3 years of your career, bless you. Just seems like a gamble I would not be willing to take if I was Tom. But that's why he's made a little bit more money in the NFL than I did, no doubt about it. But guys, if you love the NFL, especially a certain team of the NFL, the holiday gift that you need is sitting at homefields.com. You know what I mean when you go to the website. Over 165 stadiums to choose from. They're three-dimensional illuminated replicas of your favorite stadiums in football, college football, basketball, college basketball, hockey, you name it, baseball. It's at homefields.com. The guys, Ken and everybody over there, put in some incredible time and effort into making sure that the replica you bring home or that you are getting gifted to you for Christmas or any other holidays across the holiday season, that it is special to you, that it's unique. I'm telling you, the detail of this Lambeau Field that I have hanging out here in the studio, they got it right down to like the shrubs outside of the stadium. They have these cement blocks, if you go to Lambeau, Andrew, that are like 20 feet away from the stadium. They have those in this replica, and it sits on a beautiful stand, goes into a glass case. It's amazing. Homefields.com. Just found out you use the promo code SportsMap, get 10% off. Homefields.com. The best gift for the sports fan in your family this year. 3 plays that pay are coming right at you. Get your investment wallets ready. SportsMap all night. Map Radio. You're listening to us across the country, nationwide, coast to coast on one of our local affiliates, WCCO, the Mightier 1090. Give us a shout, 1-800-224-2004. A little bit of time before we head into the weekend with you and into week number 7 into the NFL. And to do so, let's invest a little bit, shall we? Andrew Carlson Waltz is in here, 18-17-1. With a 10-7-1 mark in the National Football League, coming off of a 5-1 week just 1 week ago. Andrew Carlson, back in our Houston Mothership Studios, drops the knowledge on the college football picks with you right now. Andrew, what are you starting with? 3 plays that pay in the college game tomorrow.
So I'm going to start off with a early afternoon game. I've got Louisville -5 versus Florida State. I think that this is an overreaction to the way that Florida State played in their game against North Carolina. Now, look, I know Louisville wasn't any hot stuff themselves against Notre Dame, but that defense at least looks solid. And Florida State, we know that there's talent on the team, but this screams to me that talented team that got up for one of their one big games of the year, and that was against number 5 North Carolina, and they are primed for a letdown. Give me the Cardinals -5 against the Seminoles. My second pick, I've got the probable game of the week. I've got Cincinnati at SMU over 56. I've watched American Conference football since I started attending the University of Houston, and if there's one thing I know, this conference loves overs. Both of these offenses can put points up on the board. I really like the over in this one because, look, the fact of the matter is they're like a little tuned-down version of the Big 12, at least in past years, where teams just love to put up points. And then for my final pick of the college slate this week, I've got Baylor +10 at Texas. I've learned my mistake from earlier in the year. What is the one thing that you never do? You never bet Tom Herman as a favorite. You just do not do it. You bet against Tom Herman whenever he is favored. Give me the Bears getting 10 against the Texas Longhorns going into Austin. And I'm not going to say they're going to win the game, but it's going to be damn close.
The disrespect for your boy, Tom Herman. Yeah, as a Houston Cougar, formerly, I thought that you would have a little bit of pride. Now, you have taught me that lesson multiple times here on the 3 plays that pay. Now, I wish I would have learned about the Houston Texan part of it a little bit sooner and before I lost more rent checks. But I really like the Louisville play. I sit pretty much lock and step with you there. Florida State, as much as I enjoy the Seminole football program and have for a long time, feels like they're going to be a little bit over their skis and a little bit too into what they did 1 week ago to be able to get up for this game. I was sitting right on the fence of the Cincinnati SMU game. However, I was looking at the under, Andrew. So I'm glad I'm shying away from my man that just went 5-1 last week here in the 3 plays that pay. Instead, this is where I'll ride in with you on the college football plays for a Saturday in the NCAA. I got the itch for Big Ten football. I just watched Graham Mertz make his first start with the Wisconsin Badgers and set school records all over the place. Big fan of what I'm seeing in the Big Ten. And it's going to start tomorrow on the Saturday slate with the Ohio State Buckeyes. Nebraska wanted college football to be played so bad. They wanted it so bad that they were willing to try to go outside of the Big Ten. They said they were not afraid to go elsewhere. They were not afraid to go find different teams to play. Well, Scott Frost, you get your wish. Welcome in number 5 Ohio State, and it will be the Ohio State Buckeyes hosting the Nebraska Cornhuskers. What you've been able to notice out of the Nebraska Cornhuskers since joining the Big Ten has been average performance, to say the least. Justin Fields has something to prove. He is one of the more dominant players in this league. He's going to go in the top 5 in the draft for a reason, and he is going to start his performance and his campaign to get to the finals of a Heisman Trophy race, and it happens against the Cornhuskers. The number 5 Ohio State Buckeyes roll and cover the 27-point spread against Scott Frost's Nebraska Cornhuskers coming up tomorrow starting at noon on the East Coast. Into the night game, one of the biggest games in Big Ten lore so far this year, and it's also going to be one of the better games, I think, during this whole run of Big Ten football. The Minnesota Golden Gophers under PJ Fleck have taken a different route to their success. Some people don't like the row the boat. Some people don't really like PJ Fleck to begin with. I happen to think the guy's a great motivator, and I'm a big fan of the way he does business. When you get a little kid, a family to dress their baby up as a mini PJ Fleck, I'm interested. He's gotten game day to Minneapolis twice in the last 8 months. They had never gone to Minneapolis ever before PJ Fleck walked into the Golden Gophers football program. They're catching 3 points at home with game day at their house against Michigan. Sorry, Jim Harbaugh, your team's just not that good. I understand Milton is going to be a hotshot young freshman. I'm excited to watch. I will be taking the Gophers. I'll take the 3 points. I'm also going to be playing the first half under in this game with a freshman quarterback starting for Michigan on the road. I don't care if there's 0 people in the stands. I don't care if there's 75,000 people in the stands. A freshman on the road in his first game. Give me the first half under as well, but I'll catch the 3, with the Golden Gophers against the big blue Michigan Wolverines. And a team trying to follow up a monstrous win a week ago, give me the Kentucky Wildcats and Mike Stoops. 3.5 favorites on the road. It's a tough spot to be in the SEC, and Mizzou is no slouch. Just ask Ed Ogeron in the LSU Tigers. However, I think Kentucky at 2-2 goes above 500, and they win in Columbia, and the Mizzou Tigers bounce themselves down to 1-3, and I can go 3-0 in the college game, and then maybe just give myself a little cushion because the NFL hasn't been going so well. However, Andrew Carlson has almost been a lock in the NFL. What do you got for the guys that get paid, AC?
All right, so at the NFL level, my first pick, I've been pretty accurate with the Texans so far this year. I think I would have basically unbeaten on if I was betting only Texans this year. And I'm going Packers -3.5 coming into Houston. I understand that David Bakhtiari is probably not going to play. I don't care. Put Bill Schmidt out there at left tackle. It doesn't matter.
It's a bad
The Texans'
decision.
Pass rush is not good. You double team J.J. Watt. There is nobody else on the line that's even remotely capable of getting pressure on Aaron Rodgers. I don't care if Aaron Jones isn't playing, because you know what? Those linebackers can't tackle, and those safeties and cornerbacks sure as hell can't tackle. So, you know what? You could throw me out there running back. I'll get a couple of yards. So that Texans defense just bad on all levels, which is not exactly what you want when you're going up against a quarterback playing the way that Aaron Rodgers is playing. So give me the Packers -3.5. Next game, I've got the Chiefs at the Broncos over 45. You're telling me you're giving me a number with Patty Mahomes? Oh, under 50? Oh, come on. Give that to me. The Chiefs are scoring at least 30, and then Drew Lock and that Broncos offense, I know they weren't exactly rolling against the Pats last week, but they're going to get enough going to get us over this 45. And then for my final play of the week, I've got the Bucks -4 at the Raiders. Tom Brady going to be all happy that his boy Antonio Brown is headed into town. And on top of that, the offensive line for the Raiders is not looking too hot at the moment. That Tampa Bay defense is going to feast, and Ndamukong Suh is going to be in Derek Carr's face all afternoon long, and the Bucks are going to cover that -4 with ease in Vegas.
Yeah, I love that number. If it sits at 4, and if you can lock it in right now, just do it. It might move depending upon what happens with those guys coming up on Sunday, if indeed the starting offensive line, the entire starting offensive line for the Las Vegas Raiders might not play. They all are on the COVID restricted list. The only one that we know will not, pretty much at this moment, seems to be Trent Brown, but the other 4 possibly could. I'm with you on that. I don't even care if all those guys play. You're going to tell me you're going to all sit the entire week of practice, and then you're going to go in and try to face Ndamukong Suh, Shaq Barrett. Who else am I missing here? Oh, yeah, Devin White when he decides to blitz, Levante David when he decides to blitz, Jason Pierre-Paul. No thanks. Yeah, I'm with you on that one with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but not so fast, my friends. I'm going to give you 3 plays that pay for the guys that get paid. Give me the over in the Lions and Falcons. 54.5 is a lot of points, I know, but there's also got to be defense played to limit teams from scoring. Detroit kind of finding themselves a little bit coming out of their bye, dropping over 30 on the road in Jacksonville this past weekend. I think they do the same thing against Atlanta. Don't let the 40 points in 23 in garbage time fool you against the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are bad. There's a reason why the Falcons were able to go in and beat them on the road. They don't get the picks that Kirk Cousins throws. Instead, I think Matt Stafford hits Kenny Golladay a couple of times for a couple of deep balls. TJ Hawkinson has himself a nice game, and it goes over the 54.5. Detroit in Atlanta. Carolina on the road against the New Orleans Saints. I'm sprinkling in a little something on the money line with the Carolina Panthers. I think they win the game outright. No Michael Thomas, no Emmanuel Sanders. It's no fun stopping Alvin Kamara, right? I understand. Latavius Murray, you want to go a 1-2 punch? They could run the ball 40 times if they really wanted to. But then you're also going to have to stop Teddy Bridgewater. You're also going to have to stop Mike Davis, who a lot of people weren't anticipating. But don't sleep on what that receiving core in Carolina looks like. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel. All nice receivers in this league. Robbie Anderson is slowly becoming a legitimate one across the National Football League, and I think DJ Moore is in that stratosphere as well. Give me Carolina on the road, on the turf, with Matt Rule. Derek Brown has a nice game trying to just hold Alvin Kamara in check. I think he finds the end zone. I think he has a nice day. But I think Carolina holds it with absolutely in the 7. I think Carolina goes and wins the game outright on the road. Sprinkle a little taster on the money line. And in the nightcap, my final play in the National Football League, points. Arizona against Seattle. We already know what we see in the Seattle defense, right? Their pass rush is completely non-existent. It just falls asleep for the most part during every game that you see played. Arizona had one of the most premier pass rushers in the last decade. Chandler Jones is done for the year. Good luck slowing down Russell Wilson if you're not able to get any pressure on him whatsoever. Pat Peterson is not the guy that he has been for his entire career there in Arizona. Budda Baker is a really, really strong defensive player. I think he slows down Chris Carson, though, more than he does DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Greg Olsen, David Moore. Can I say more? It's Russell Wilson against Kyler Murray. 55 is a big number, but let me see it. I think this game gets played well into the 30s. I think it's 38-35, 41-35, something in that stratosphere, and I think the 55 gets beat just into the fourth quarter. Give me the over. So I got 2 overs and 2 big numbers, 54.5, 55 in those 2, and the Carolina Panthers. Those are the 3 plays that pay.
Let's see some points this week, Bill. I want to see it, baby.
We had a lot of unders last week, so I feel like we also have to be bouncing it back into more scoring this week. So you really don't see any way that even without David Bakhtiari, the Houston Texans are able to slow down Aaron Rodgers in that offense.
Oh, no chance.
Okay, good. Are you a little worried? I'm a little worried about Deshaun against this Green Bay Packers defense. Do I have to be worried, or am I just being nervous?
The Texans will put up points on a few drives, but I don't think it's going to be remotely close to enough to keep up with what the Packers are going to be doing on the other side.
I think Brandon Cooks has a nice game. I don't know about Will Fuller because I think he more gets shadowed by Alexander. Kevin King, their second corner, most likely out for Green Bay. Watch Cooks could have a really, really nice game, and they're going to try to force the ball, I think, to Randall Cobb against this former team. Randall Cobb's done. As much as I love Randall Cobb, he's very much done. So that is not as scary for me. So Andrew, I'm going to take your advice. I'm going to bet against the Texans today.
Hey, lock it in.
I'm always down with it. You've been telling me so long to make sure that I do, and everybody else should invest as well. Keep it right here. Wrap things up. Send you into the weekend next. AC and Bill Schmid at Sports Map All Night.
Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios, here's Bill Schmidt.
All right, sending you into the weekend here on Sports Map All Night, week number 7 in the NFL. Big week in college football. The Big Ten is here. Graham Mertz is here in college football. Kid made his first start at the University of Wisconsin tonight in the first game the Big Ten played in 2020. He was 20 of 21 for almost 250 and 5 touchdowns. And more importantly, the young man got himself a shout out from Patrick Mahomes on Twitter. That is as good as it's going to get for a college quarterback. Andrew Carlson, what are you doing for UFC 254 tomorrow in your afternoon tilt?
Man, you know, I may have to crack open a few afternoon Saturday beers.
There we go. This man popping the top. Get a couple of brews going. Make sure you note that start time. 1 afternoon in the Central Time Zone. So make sure you got a pillow handy. Thanks to Spencer Kite. You'll be following him tomorrow as well as Shehan Jayaraja talking college football with us. Andrew Carlson, I'm Bill Schmidt. We're back on Monday, start at 10. Have a good weekend, everybody. Peace.